The massive railguns of the human dreadnought Indomitable roared, the deck plates shuddering as the ship rained hell on the pirate fleet attacking the Rizian colony. Mere hours ago, the Rizians had mocked the Indomitable as a primitive relic. Now they watched in stunned disbelief as the human warship unleashed unrivaled destruction. A tense showdown was unfolding at the edges of Rizian space. The technologically advanced Rizian Empire had long viewed humans as backward upstarts, their hulking dreadnoughts dismissed as outdated antiques from a bygone era. That view was about to be shattered. Captain Stephen Green gripped the armrests of his command chair as the Indomitable plowed through the firestorm, its thick armor shrugging off the pirates' advanced weaponry. He had come to the Rizian capital on a diplomatic mission, seeking to build bridges between the two powers. But Rizian Fleet Admiral Theros had openly insulted him and his ship, deriding human military technology. Stephen's jaw tightened as he recalled the sneering contempt on Theros's face. The Rizian admiral had made a grave mistake in underestimating human resolve. When the distress call came in from the colony under pirate assault, Stephen immediately volunteered the Indomitable to respond, despite the fact that Rizian ships were closer. Theros had scoffed, clearly expecting the human dreadnought to fail in its rescue attempt. But now the Indomitable was unleashing hell, its railguns, missiles, and laser batteries hammering the pirate fleet with relentless fury. The human crew moved with drilled precision, outmaneuvering the enemy ships. Stephen calmly directed the counterattack, his commands crisp and confident. The pirates reeled under the onslaught, ships splintering and burning under the dreadnought's guns. One by one, the pirate vessels fell, the Indomitable tearing them apart. The once sleek Rizian colony hung in space, pockmarked by weapons fire but intact, saved from destruction by the surprising power of the human warship. Stephen allowed himself a grim smile. The Indomitable had just proved human valor and capability beyond doubt. Aboard the Rizian flagship, Theros stood in stunned silence, unable to comprehend the shocking display of human might. Perceptions were shifting as the Rizians realized they had severely underestimated what humanity's primitive dreadnoughts could do. A new respect was starting to take hold. But Stephen knew this was just the beginning. As he watched the last pirate ship dissolve into a bloom of flame, he sensed that this skirmish was a mere prelude to a far greater conflict looming on the horizon, one that would test human resolve to its limits and determine the fate of the galaxy itself. As the Indomitable settled into orbit around the Rizian homeworld, Captain Stephen Green couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. The human dreadnought had proven its worth, shattering the Rizians' preconceptions about human military prowess. Theros, the once arrogant Rizian fleet admiral, had personally contacted Stephen to express his grudging respect and gratitude for their actions in defending the colony. "Captain Green," Theros said, his holographic image flickering on the Indomitable's bridge. "Your ship's performance was impressive. The Rizian Empire owes you a debt of gratitude. As a token of our appreciation, we invite you and your crew to a formal ceremony on our homeworld to honor your bravery." Stephen nodded, sensing an opportunity to bridge the gap between their two civilizations. "We would be honored to attend, Admiral Theros. Thank you for the invitation." The Indomitable descended through the Rizian atmosphere, its hull glinting in the sunlight. As Stephen and his crew disembarked, they were greeted by a delegation of Rizian officials, their faces a mix of awe and reluctant admiration. However, amidst the welcoming party, Stephen noticed a group of Rizians standing apart, their expressions dark and hostile. In the days leading up to the ceremony, Stephen threw himself into preparations, working closely with the Rizian authorities to ensure a smooth event. But as he delved deeper, he stumbled upon whispers of discontent and opposition to human presence. His instincts, honed by years of military service, warned him that something was amiss. Late one night, as Stephen pored over security reports in his temporary quarters, a message pinged on his comm unit. It was from an anonymous source, urging him to meet in a secluded location. Intrigued and cautious, Stephen slipped out of the embassy compound and made his way to the rendezvous point. In a dimly lit alley, a cloaked figure emerged from the shadows. "Captain Green," the figure whispered urgently. You and your crew are in danger. There are those among us who oppose any cooperation with humans. They see your victory as a threat to Rizian superiority. Stephen's mind raced, piecing together the clues. Who's behind this? What are they planning? The informant glanced around nervously. A faction of hardline supremacists, led by a man named Zoran. They're planning to sabotage your ship and disrupt the ceremony. You must be vigilant. With a nod, the figure melted back into the darkness, leaving Stephen with a sense of foreboding. He immediately contacted his crew, putting them on high alert. As the Indomitable underwent repairs and upgrades in the Rizian shipyard, strange incidents began to occur. Equipment malfunctioned, systems glitched, and supplies went missing. Stephen's crew worked tirelessly to counter the sabotage attempts, their resourcefulness and perseverance shining through. Theros, initially dismissive of Stephen's concerns, started to notice a pattern in the disruptions. Secretly, he launched his own investigation, gathering evidence that pointed to Zoran's involvement. In a clandestine meeting, Theros shared his findings with Stephen, the two forming an unlikely alliance against the common threat. The day of the ceremony arrived, and tension hung thick in the air. As Stephen and his crew made their way to the event hall, an explosion rocked the embassy compound. Chaos erupted as Zoran's followers, armed with advanced Rizian weaponry, stormed the building, intent on assassinating the human delegation. The Indomitable's Marines reacted with split-second precision, engaging the attackers in fierce close-quarters combat. Laser fire crisscrossed the halls as the Marines fought to protect the embassy staff and dignitaries. Stephen, armed with only a sidearm, found himself in the thick of the battle, his training and instincts kicking into overdrive. Amidst the mayhem, Stephen rallied his forces, coordinating a counterattack against the insurgents. The crew of the Indomitable, though outgunned, relied on their wits and training to outmaneuver Zoran's zealots. They fought with grit and willpower, driven by a sense of duty and the knowledge that failure was not an option. As the battle raged, Theros and his loyal Rizian forces joined the fray, turning the tide against the attackers. Together, the humans and Rizians pushed back against the onslaught, their teamwork and courage shining through in the face of adversity. The dust had barely settled from the battle at the embassy when Theros strode onto the bridge of the Indomitable, his face a mask of unyielding commitment. "Captain Green, we need to talk." Stephen nodded, leading the Rizian admiral to a private conference room. As the door hissed shut behind them, Theros spoke without preamble. "The situation has escalated beyond our control. Zoran's faction is gaining strength, and we need your help to stop them before it's too late." Stephen leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "What exactly are we dealing with?" Theros activated a holographic display, showing a map of Rizian space. "Our intelligence suggests that Zoran's top lieutenant, Galnar, has gone rogue with one of our most advanced warships. He's rallying extremists to his cause and plans to strike at both human and moderate Rizian targets." "Then we need to stop him," Stephen said firmly. "The Indomitable stands ready to assist." Within hours, a joint Rizian-human task force was assembled. As the Indomitable's engines hummed to life, Stephen addressed his crew over the intercom. "This is our chance to prove that humans and Rizians can work together. Let's show them what we're made of." The pursuit of Galnar's ship stretched across weeks of contested space. Stephen and Theros coordinated their efforts, but their quarry proved maddeningly elusive. The renegade vessel's cloaking technology allowed it to vanish without a trace, only to reappear and strike with devastating precision. "Damn it!" Stephen thumped his hand on the tactical display as reports of another hit-and-run attack came in. "How many ships have we lost now?" Theros' face was grim on the screen. "Too many. My people are starting to lose faith." Stephen ran a hand through his hair, his mind racing. Suddenly, an idea struck him. What if we use the Indomitable as bait? Draw Galnar out and spring a trap? Theros' eyes widened. "That's suicide. Your ship can't withstand that kind of assault alone." "We've survived worse," Stephen countered, "and it might be our only shot." After hours of debate, Theros reluctantly agreed. The Indomitable broke off from the main fleet, broadcasting false distress signals. For days they waited, tension mounting with each passing hour. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. "Contact!" the sensor officer shouted. "Rizian warship decloaking off our port bow." Stephen's voice rang out clear and steady. "All hands, battle stations, this is what we've been waiting for." Galnar's ship materialized like a phantom, its weapons already charging. The Indomitable shuddered as the first salvo struck, but her armor held. Stephen barked orders, guiding his ship through a series of evasive maneuvers while returning fire with devastating accuracy. The bridge rocked with each impact, but the crew worked with practiced efficiency. Stephen watched the tactical display intently, waiting for the perfect moment. "Now!" he shouted. "Signal the fleet!" As if summoned by magic, Theros's ships decloaked around Galnar's vessel, catching it in a deadly crossfire. The renegade ship's shields buckled under the onslaught, its hull breached in a dozen places. "Galnar's ship is crippled," Theros reported, a note of triumph in his voice. Stephen nodded, then opened a channel to the enemy vessel. "This is Captain Green of the Indomitable. Your ship is disabled, and you're surrounded. Surrender now, and you will be treated fairly." For a long moment, there was silence. Then, a grudging voice crackled over the comm. We surrender." As Rizian security teams boarded Galnar's ship, Stephen turned to Theros. "I think this marks the beginning of a beautiful friendship." Theros nodded, a rare smile crossing his face. "Indeed it does, Captain. Indeed it does." In the days that followed, news of the joint victory spread rapidly. Rizian moderates gained the upper hand, and more of Zoran's followers laid down their arms. The respect for humanity, and the Indomitable in particular, soared throughout the empire. Yet even as they celebrated their triumph, Stephen couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. Reports were filtering in from the fringes of known space. Strange sightings, unexplained phenomena, whispers of an ancient power stirring in the void. As the Indomitable prepared to embark on a new mission, Stephen stood at the viewport, gazing out at the stars. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew that the alliance forged in fire between humans and Rizians would face them together. The celebration of their victory over Galnar's forces was short-lived. Stephen and Theros stood side by side on the Indomitable's bridge, staring at the holographic display with growing unease. Intelligence reports scrolled by, each more alarming than the last. "What the hell are we looking at here?" Stephen muttered, his brow furrowed. Theros's multifaceted eyes flickered rapidly, processing the information. The Prime Harvesters, an ancient force thought to be mere legend. But these reports... Stephen leaned in, studying the grainy footage of massive shapes moving at the edge of known space. "We can't just sit here and wait for them to come to us. We need to strike first." Theros chittered nervously. "Caution, Captain. We know nothing of their true capabilities." But Stephen's mind was made up. He outlined his plan to the Rizian Council, a preemptive strike using the full might of their combined fleets. Theros argued against it, but the Council, still riding high on their recent victory, sided with the human captain. Days later, a massive armada of human dreadnoughts and Rizian warships pushed into uncharted space. The Indomitable led the charge, its powerful engines humming as they approached the last known coordinates of the Harvester sightings. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. The sensor officer's voice was tense. "Massive gravitational disturbance detected, sir. It's like nothing we've ever seen." Stephen moved to the main view screen, watching as space itself seemed to twist and warp before them. "Analysis?" The science team worked feverishly, data streaming across their consoles. Lieutenant Park looked up, her face pale. "Sir, this isn't natural. The energy signatures, it has to be artificial. And the power required to generate something like this." Stephen nodded grimly. "A weapon, or a gateway." He turned to his communications officer. "Hail the fleet. The unyielding Perseverance lead a scouting force through. The rest hold position and prepare for potential hostile contact." As they approached the anomaly, Stephen felt the ship shudder. the view screen filled with swirling, chaotic energy. Then, with a lurch that sent crew members sprawling, they were through. The sight that greeted them stole the breath from Stephen's lungs. A graveyard of shattered worlds stretched as far as the eye could see. The burnt-out husks of countless ships drifted lifelessly. And there, at the heart of this cosmic wasteland, loomed shapes that defied comprehension. "My God," Stephen whispered. The harvesters were monstrous biomechanical amalgamations, their surfaces a writhing mass of metal and flesh. Before the human captain could even issue orders, they attacked. Energy weapons lashed out, tearing through the escort ships effortlessly. The Indomitable rocked violently as its shields flared under the assault. "Evasive maneuvers," Stephen barked. "Return fire with everything we've got." The Dreadnoughts' guns roared to life, but their shots seemed to dissipate harmlessly against the Harvester's impossibly dense armor. Stephen gripped his command chair as another blast rocked the ship. "Status report." "Shields at 40% and falling, sir. We can't take much more of this." Stephen's mind raced. They were outgunned, outmatched. There was only one option left. "All hands, prepare for emergency jump. Get us the hell out of here." The Indomitable's engines screamed as they tore a hole back through the anomaly, emerging battered but intact near the waiting armada. Stephen's voice was grim as he opened a channel to Theros. "We've got a big problem," he said. "Those things, they're coming, and God help us all if we can't find a way to stop them."
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.